Sylvia's business trip had been a whirlwind of meetings, presentations, and the promise of a promotion on the horizon. As she boarded the flight back home, her thoughts were consumed with excitement about surprising her husband, Landon. The prospect of a warm reunion and a quiet evening together filled her with anticipation. The plane touched down, and Sylvia rushed home, her heart pounding with a mix of exhaustion and eagerness. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit living room adorned with memories of their shared life. The scent of Landon's favorite meal lingered in the air, intensifying Sylvia's desire to see the look of joy on his face. The anticipation bubbled within her as she tiptoed through the familiar space, a smile playing on her lips. The living room closet seemed like the perfect hiding spot, and she nestled herself inside, stifling a giggle at the thought of surprising her unsuspecting husband. Minutes felt like hours as Sylvia waited in the dim closet, her excitement reaching a crescendo. The front door finally creaked open, and the voice she longed to hear filled the room. However, it was accompanied by another, a woman's voice, unfamiliar and unsettling. Sylvia strained to hear their conversation, her joy turning into confusion. "Landon, who is that?" The question hung in the air as she peeked through the closet slats, her eyes widening in disbelief. A woman emerged with Landon, their arms intertwined. Sylvia's world crumbled as she listened to their exchange. It was delicious, wasn't it? Landon's voice, once a source of comfort, now felt like a stab to her heart. Dialogue echoed in her mind, replaying the scene as if on a loop. "I'm only married to her for her money," Landon confessed callously. Sylvia's breath caught in her throat, the weight of his words hitting her with the force of a sledgehammer. Tears welled in her eyes as she grappled with the unexpected betrayal. The living room, once a haven, transformed into a battlefield of emotions. The anticipated surprise now a cruel twist of fate, Sylvia remained hidden, her world unraveling in the confines of the closet. She clung to the shadows, absorbing the painful reality of her husband's infidelity. The unexpected return became an unwelcome revelation, setting the stage for a tumultuous journey of heartbreak and revenge. Sylvia's eyes, blurred with tears, stayed fixed on the scene unfolding before her. The living room, once a sanctuary of shared laughter and love, had transformed into a stage for heartbreak. Landon and the unfamiliar woman seemed oblivious to Sylvia's presence as they continued their intimate conversation. The dim light cast eerie shadows, accentuating the pain etched on Sylvia's face. She strained to hear their hushed whispers, her heart pounding in her ears. "Landon, are you sure about this?" The woman questioned, her voice carrying a hint of guilt. Landon's response cut through the heavy air. "Trust me, she won't be a problem. I'm only with her for the money." Sylvia's breath caught at his callous admission, her hand pressed against her mouth to stifle a sob. In the confined space of the closet, Sylvia grappled with the reality of her crumbling marriage. The warmth she had anticipated turned into a bitter chill. As Landon and the woman moved closer, their laughter mingling, Sylvia's heartache deepened. A dialogue echoed in the room, creating a painful symphony of betrayal. "You really think she won't find out?" The woman questioned, a note of caution in her voice. Landon chuckled dismissively. "She's too wrapped up in her career to notice. Besides, what she doesn't know won't hurt her." Tears streamed down Sylvia's cheeks as she witnessed the unraveling of her once cherished life. The couple's affectionate gestures intensified her anguish. The woman touched Landon's face gently, and he reciprocated with a passionate kiss, sealing Sylvia's fate. In the stifling silence of the closet, Sylvia grappled with the magnitude of Landon's betrayal. The living room, witness to countless shared moments, had become a silent accomplice in the demise of their marriage. As Landon and the woman left the room, arm in arm, Sylvia emerged from her hiding place. Her legs felt weak as she navigated the space tainted by infidelity. She traced her fingertips over the framed photographs that now mocked the happiness they once portrayed. The unexpected return had transitioned into an unanticipated revelation, a betrayal etched in the very fabric of her home. Sylvia's world had crumbled, leaving her to pick up the pieces of a shattered marriage and a broken heart. Sylvia retreated to the solitude of her bedroom, the weight of betrayal settling on her shoulders. The muffled sounds of Landon and the other woman lingered in the air, haunting her like a ghost. As she sat on the edge of their bed, the room, once a haven, felt foreign and unwelcoming. Images of her life with Landon flashed before her, each memory now tainted by the revelation of his true intentions. The whispered confessions from the living room echoed in her mind, like a cruel refrain. Married to her for the money. Landon's words resonated, a painful reminder of a loveless union. In an attempt to make sense of the chaos, Sylvia replayed their interactions, searching for clues she might have missed. The photographs on the dresser, once cherished snapshots of happiness, now seemed to mock her naivety. Sylvia's phone buzzed with a text, a hollow attempt at normalcy in the wake of her shattered world. She hesitated before opening the message from Landon, the man she thought she knew. "Just working late tonight. Don't wait up," the text read, each word a dagger to her already wounded heart. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the bedroom door. Landon stood in the doorway, a forced smile on his face. "Hey, you're back early." "Surprise," he said, attempting nonchalance. Sylvia met his gaze, her eyes betraying the turmoil within. "Surprise indeed," she replied, her voice steady but laced with the bitterness of deceit. Landon feigned innocence. "I thought you were still on your trip. I was going to plan a little surprise for your return." The irony of his words wasn't lost on Sylvia. Their conversation became a dance of carefully chosen words and concealed emotions. "I missed you," Landon said, attempting to bridge the growing chasm between them. Sylvia, however, couldn't shake the haunting echoes of his earlier admission. The room felt like a battleground, each exchange laden with unspoken accusations. "You seem distant. Is everything okay?" Landon asked, his concern a poorly veiled attempt to deflect from the truth. Sylvia's response was a measured, "Everything's fine. Just tired from the trip." As Landon left the room, Sylvia sank into the bed, grappling with the web of lies surrounding her. Whispers of deceit reverberated through the walls, leaving her to navigate the treacherous path of a love turned cold. The unexpected return had morphed into a journey of self-discovery, where the truth hid in the shadows of betrayal. In the aftermath of the whispered confessions and feigned normalcy, Sylvia found herself consumed by a tumultuous mix of emotions. Hurt, anger, and betrayal fueled a newfound determination within her. The once-loved memories now served as kindling for a fire of revenge. Sylvia's days became a careful dance between maintaining appearances and plotting her retaliation. In the quiet moments, she meticulously gathered evidence of Landon's affair, cataloging messages, capturing incriminating photos, and compiling a dossier that would serve as the ammunition for her revenge. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sylvia sat in a dimly lit café, her fingers dancing across the keyboard of her laptop. A detective agency's website glowed on the screen, promising justice for those wronged by infidelity. She hesitated, then clicked the Contact Us button, initiating a plan to expose Landon's betrayal. Days passed, each one a step closer to Sylvia's vengeful resolution. She received a call from a detective named Jake, the gravelly timbre of his voice instilling a sense of assurance. "We'll get to the bottom of this. Just leave it to us," he assured her. Armed with newfound confidence, Sylvia confronted Landon. "I know everything, Landon. Your lies, your affair." "It's over," she declared, her voice steady. Landon's face contorted with shock, but he attempted to salvage the situation. "You're overreacting." "It's not what you think," he stammered. Sylvia, however, was unyielding. "Save it, Landon. The charade ends here." She left him with the weight of her revelation, the air heavy with the consequences of his actions. As she walked away, the determination in her eyes spoke volumes. This would be no ordinary divorce. Her focus shifted to the impending investigation. Jake, the detective, met with Sylvia, presenting the evidence he had gathered. "We've got enough to expose their affair. Are you ready?" he asked. Sylvia's response was resolute. "Let's bring their deception into the light." The day of reckoning arrived. Sylvia, accompanied by Jake, confronted Landon and the other woman. "Your secret's out," Sylvia announced, her voice echoing with a mix of triumph and pain. The cheaters stammered, attempting feeble justifications. "We were just having a bit of fun." Landon tried to dismiss the gravity of their actions. Sylvia, however, stood tall, her eyes reflecting a newfound strength. "Fun at the expense of our marriage? No more lies, Landon. It's time for you to face the consequences." As the cheaters left, chastened and exposed, Sylvia felt a strange sense of satisfaction. The unexpected return, once a catalyst for heartbreak, had transformed into a strategic move in a game of emotional chess. The vengeful resolve had set the stage for Sylvia to reclaim control over her life, one calculated move at a time. With the evidence in hand and the affair exposed, Sylvia, accompanied by Detective Jake, navigated the complex emotions that swirled within her. The quest for justice became a journey to reclaim her dignity and rebuild from the ruins of her shattered marriage. In a small, dimly lit office, Detective Jake spread out the evidence on a worn-out table. Text messages, photos, and timestamps meticulously detail the extent of Landon's betrayal. "This should be enough to make their deception public," Jake assured Sylvia, his gruff demeanor softened by a hint of empathy. As they prepared to unveil the truth, Sylvia's mind echoed with Landon's feeble attempts to justify his actions. "It was just a bit of fun," his words reverberated. Sylvia couldn't shake the bitter taste of those lies, the very fabric of their shared history unraveling under the weight of his betrayal. The detective agency crafted a letter, a precise compilation of the evidence, and a stern warning of the consequences should the affair continue. Sylvia's hands trembled as she read the words that would mark the beginning of the end for Landon's deceit. Armed with the letter, Sylvia and Jake arrived at the workplace where Landon and the other woman, Clara, shared their clandestine moments. The sterile ambience of the office belied the emotional storm that awaited them. As Landon and Clara were called into a makeshift meeting room, Sylvia's gaze remained steely, a blend of determination and pain. The air thickened with tension as Jake delivered the letter, the weight of the truth settling upon the cheaters. Clara's eyes darted nervously, and Landon attempted a feeble defense. "This is a misunderstanding. We can explain," he pleaded, his desperation laid bare. Sylvia, however, remained unmoved. "Your secrets are out, Landon. No more lies," she declared, her voice a mixture of sorrow and strength. As they left the office, Detective Jake turned to Sylvia. "They know the consequences now. If they continue, the fallout will be beyond repair," he explained. Sylvia nodded, a silent acknowledgement of the irreversible path she had set in motion. In the aftermath, Sylvia received a call from Clara, her tone a mix of regret and resentment. "You ruined our lives," Clara accused. Sylvia's response was measured. "You both made your choices. Now live with the consequences." The letter served as a harbinger of change, and Sylvia, despite the pain that lingered, felt a sense of closure. The unexpected return had become a catalyst for justice, a step towards healing, and a testament to Sylvia's resilience in the face of betrayal. The journey, though far from over, had shifted towards a future where the wounds of the past could slowly begin to mend. The stage was set for the confrontation Sylvia had meticulously orchestrated. With Detective Jake by her side, she entered the familiar territory of her home, now transformed into a battleground of emotions. Landon and Clara, their faces marked by guilt, stood in the living room where their betrayal had been first unveiled. "Landon, Clara, it's time we bring this charade to an end," Sylvia declared, her voice cutting through the tension that hung thick in the air. Landon's eyes widened, and Clara shifted uncomfortably, both realizing the gravity of the moment. Detective Jake stepped forward, presenting the evidence that laid bare their affair. Text messages, photos, and the damning letter from the detective agency were spread out, casting a harsh spotlight on the deception that had festered within the confines of their marriage. Landon stammered, attempting to salvage a semblance of dignity. "Sylvia, this is a misunderstanding. It's not what you think," he pleaded, desperation coloring his words. Clara, sensing the gravity of the situation, remained silent, what shot Sylvia a resentful look. Sylvia's gaze remained steady, her resolve unshaken. "Misunderstanding? Landon, your lies are exposed, your betrayal laid bare." "There's no room for denial," she retorted, her voice a mix of sorrow and strength. Detective Jake's stern expression reinforced the irrefutable truth of the evidence. Clara, unable to meet Sylvia's gaze, finally spoke, her voice a mix of regret and defiance. "You don't understand what we had to endure. It wasn't as simple as you think," she argued. Sylvia, however, was unyielding. "The end doesn't justify the means, Clara. Betrayal is betrayal, no matter how you dress it up." Landon, realizing the futility of his excuses, shifted tactics. "Sylvia, we can work this out. Let's not let it end like this," he implored, his eyes searching for a flicker of forgiveness. Sylvia's response was a cold, "There's nothing left to work out, Landon. The trust is shattered." Detective Jake, sensing the emotional weight of the moment, interjected with a firm tone. "Your actions have consequences, and it's time to face them. This is the truth, and it's time for both of you to accept it." The words hung in the room, a final decree of justice. As the cheaters left, chastened and exposed, Sylvia felt a strange mix of triumph and sorrow. The confrontation unveiled had stripped away the layers of deception, leaving raw wounds in its wake. The unexpected return had become a pivotal moment of strength in the face of heartbreak, setting the stage for Sylvia's journey toward healing and self-discovery. With the confrontation behind her, Sylvia found herself in the aftermath of the emotional tempest. The echoes of the confrontation lingered, and her home, once a sanctuary, now bore the scars of betrayal. Amidst the wreckage, Sylvia sought solace in the sanctuary of her thoughts. The storm of emotions raged within her, and as the days unfolded, Sylvia retreated into the quiet corners of her mind. She stood by the window, gazing at the raindrops tracing erratic paths down the glass. Each droplet mirrored the turmoil within her, a reflection of the chaos that had marred her once peaceful life. In the solitude of her thoughts, Sylvia grappled with the questions that haunted her. The unexpected return, intended to be a source of joy, had become a catalyst for a painful revelation. What did I miss? How could I have been so blind? She questioned, her own introspection adding to the weight of her emotions. One evening, Sylvia's phone buzzed, interrupting the silence that enveloped her. It was a message from Landon, a feeble attempt to mend the irreparable. "Can we talk? Maybe we can find a way through this," the text read. Sylvia, however, was resolute. "There's nothing left to say, Landon." "We've said it all," she replied, her words a firm boundary against the encroaching shadows of the past. In the midst of the emotional storm, Sylvia's thoughts turned to Detective Jake, the steadfast ally who had been a pillar of support. "You're stronger than you think, Sylvia. This storm will pass, and you'll emerge even more resilient," he had assured her. The detective's words echoed in her mind, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness. One night, as Sylvia sat amidst the fragments of her broken marriage, a call came through. It was a close friend, offering words of comfort and solidarity. "You're not alone in this, Sylvia. Lean on those who care about you," the friend advised. Sylvia nodded, grateful for the lifelines thrown in her direction. The storm within Sylvia's heart began to subside, replaced by a quiet determination to rebuild. She took tentative steps toward reclaiming her life, finding strength in the support of friends and the resilience she discovered within herself. As Sylvia reflected on the tumultuous journey, she realized that the storm had reshaped her. The unexpected return had unearthed painful truths, but in its wake, Sylvia emerged stronger, ready to face a future untethered from the chains of betrayal. The reflections in the storm became a poignant reminder that even in the darkest moments, there was a glimmer of hope waiting to be discovered. The storm had passed, leaving in its wake a landscape transformed by pain, resilience, and self-discovery. Sylvia stood at the threshold of a new chapter, gazing at the road ahead with a mixture of trepidation and determination. As she packed her belongings, the weight of the past lifted, making room for the promise of a brighter future. In the quiet solitude of her new apartment, Sylvia reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. The unexpected return, initially a harbinger of joy turned betrayal, had become a catalyst for personal growth. "I never thought I'd find strength in such a dark place," she mused, tracing the contours of her own resilience. A knock on the door interrupted Sylvia's thoughts. It was Detective Jake, a supportive presence who had played a crucial role in unraveling the truth. "How are you holding up?" he inquired, concern etched on his face. Sylvia offered a small smile. "Better than before. The road ahead is uncertain, but I'm ready to face it." Detective Jake nodded, a silent acknowledgement of the strength he had witnessed in Sylvia. "Remember, you're not alone on this journey. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here," he reassured her. Sylvia appreciated the genuine concern in his voice, grateful for the unexpected bond forged in the crucible of betrayal. As Sylvia settled into her new life, she embraced the support of friends who had rallied around her. One evening, a friend remarked, "You're turning the page on a painful chapter, Sylvia. The road ahead is filled with possibilities." Sylvia nodded, determined to seize those possibilities and redefine her narrative. The echoes of Landon's feeble attempts to reconcile reached Sylvia through sporadic messages. "Can't we start over? I miss you," he pleaded. Sylvia, however, had found her voice. "Starting over doesn't erase the past, Landon. It's time for both of us to move forward separately," she replied, closing the door on a chapter that could no longer be rewritten. In the stillness of her new space, Sylvia contemplated her professional aspirations. The turmoil had not extinguished her drive to succeed in her career. "I can be a good boss and contribute to the success of the company," she affirmed, fueled by the determination to reclaim her identity beyond the confines of a fractured marriage. As Sylvia took the first steps on the road ahead, she embraced the uncertainty with newfound courage. The unexpected return had been a crucible of pain and revelation, but it had also become the catalyst for Sylvia's rebirth. The road ahead, winding and unpredictable, held the promise of a resilient woman embracing the chapters yet to be written.